good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another wonderful edition of DDM Sports. Right here, where we give you the updates, the news, and of course, transfer news coming from all around the world. It's not just football, it's going to be beyond football, but this time around, we will be focusing on what is happening in the Women's African Cup of Nations. Yes, you heard me right. What is going on with the Super Falcons of Nigeria? Now, earlier on, we actually saw a very disappointing display and results from the Super Falcons of Nigeria. But before then, we will be talking about the matches that have been played before Nigeria took on Malawi, and that was the opening fixture for Group C. Now, of course, talking about the matches that have been played from match day one on Sunday, it was Algeria taking on Senegal. 2-0 it ended for the Algerian side, who defeated Senegal's women team. And of course, that is a win for the Algerians. And Morocco, the hosts, they decided to show up as usual. Now, of course, it was Morocco defeating Kenya 4-0 on Sunday. The second match of the WAFCON 2026, that is the Women's African Cup of Nations 2026. And of course, 4-0 it ended for Morocco, who started scoring from as early as the first half. That was exactly how it turned out for the Moroccan side. South Africa's Bayana losing this time to Tanzania. Now, of course, talking about Bayana of South Africa, they are one of the former champions, and of course, they have been defeated by Tanzania in their opening fixture. Now, like I said, it was the male side who actually lost their first match in the World Cup 2026, and now it is the females doing exactly that in the Women's African Cup of Nations 2026. 2-1 it ended for Tanzania against the South Africa, and now they have 3 points against the South African team and of course Group B. And still talking about Group B matches, it was Ivory Coast taking on Burkina Faso. 4-1 it ended for Ivory Coast, and of course they have 3 points plus from 4 goals against Burkina Faso's 1. 4-1 it ended on Monday night. And of course, still talking about Group C fixtures, where Nigeria gets to play against Zambia and Egypt later on after this disappointing display against Malawi. It was Zambia who defeated the Cleopatras of Egypt 6-0. Yes, you heard me right. 6-0 it ended for Zambia. Now the Copper Queens, talking about that lady, Barbara Banda, scoring 4 goals, including a hat trick in a 27-minute window, and that is exactly how prolific and very deadly and dangerous she is at the game. Talking about Barbara Banda of Zambia, and of course she scored 4 goals for Zambia, 6 against Egypt. Now, still talking about what happened yesterday, it was Nigeria's it was Justin Madugu's Nigeria, and talking about our Super Falcons, who lost their opening fixture to Malawi 3-2. Now, of course, it was Nigeria who actually ended the first half with Malawi 0-0 as it ended after the first half. But talking about the win, Malawi scored 2 goals ahead of Nigeria. And of course, it is a set of women. It is the Chawinga sisters who decided to take it up for the Malawian side. Now, Malawi, they are debutants in this Women's African Cup of Nations. Yes, you heard me right. The Flame and, of course, the Scorchers of Malawi are playing for the first time in the Women's African Cup of Nations, and they have achieved a very big feat. 10-time champions Nigeria Super Falcons lost to debutants in the opening fixture, where we saw the Chawinga sister, Temwa Chawinga. She scored the first goal, and of course, also it was her sister, Tabitha Chawinga, who also scored the second goal before she rounded it up, making it 3-2 against Nigeria. Now, of course, Nigeria's first goal came from a penalty kick, and it was scored by none other than the captain, Rashidat Ajibade, the lady with the blue hair who keeps showing up for Nigeria. And of course, the second goal came from Uchenna Kanu. Now, Nigeria scored both goals in the late minutes and extra time of 90. Nigeria did not actually score up to 2 goals in the first 90 minutes, but it was Malawi who took it up and made it 3-2, making sure that Nigeria Nigeria did not get the 3 points against them in the opening fixture of the Women's African Cup of Nations. Now, Nigeria will be playing her next match against Zambia, who played 6-0 against Egypt. Now, of course, that is going to be one of the biggest and toughest matches for Nigeria as they hope to qualify for the semi-finals. Now, reaching the semi-finals means automatic qualifications to the Women's FIFA World Cup 2027 that will be taking place in Brazil. Now, of course, talking about what is happening in other news still around the world. Yes, we'll be talking about the Commonwealth Games. What is going on right there? Nigeria now have nothing less than 12 medals at the Commonwealth Games ongoing right there in Glasgow, Scotland. And what is happening at Nigeria with 12 medals, but it is 6 gold medals. And of course, they have 2 silver and 4 silver and 2 bronze. Nigeria currently leading the line for the African continent with 12 medals. South Africa have 16 medals, but they have less gold. They have 4 gold medals and they have 7 silver with 5 bronze, making it 16 for the South Africans. Now, so talking about Africa, it is still Kenya who are right there in 12th place with 1 gold medal, 2 bronze medals and also 2 silver medals, and they have 5 in total. Now let's talk about the medals we have in for Nigeria. It is record-breaking Nigerians who keep showing up the Commonwealth Games, in Glasgow 2026. And what is going on? It is the gold medal secured by Esther Nwangu, who was in the women's lightweight para weightlifting, and of course that earned her a gold medal. Now we'll be going for a short break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about what is going on with FIFA and the transfer window as well. Don't go anywhere. Now, talking about the world governing football body, it is FIFA who announced on Tuesday, talking about the president of FIFA, Gianni Infantino, who announced on Tuesday that it has a plan to launch a new enterprise and a proposal that will bring together the sale of all FIFA's commercial rights, including broadcasting, sponsorship, ticketing, and licensing, with operational delivery of its tournament. Now, of course, it was called the FIFA Forward Enterprise, talking about the same enterprise and proposal. It has now made it clear that it is willing to sell at least 20% of its shares to private investors. Now, of course, Gianni Infantino has given football associations until the 19th of September to back its plans to sell to private investors, talking about shares that will bring a total of at least $4.2 billion to FIFA. Now, of course, under the proposal, FIFA would raise up to $4.2 billion from external private investors by selling minority non-controlling stakes in the FIFA Forward Enterprise. Now, the football governing body also said this plan, which will need approval from the member associations, could deliver more than $10 billion in football development funding for the next 4 years. Now, of course, this was not in discussion with any of the FIFA and the Football Association members, as this came as a surprise to many who actually said it is not encouraging to football development. Now, of course, Gianni Infantino has also promised incentives of at least £30 million incentives to the members who will be backing his plan and proposal to sell to private investors, talking about the shares in FIFA. Now, he also claims that these private investors will have no control over the tournaments, over FIFA tournaments, and the ticketing, and also having broadcasting rights to FIFA football competitions and tournaments, talking about the organization as well. But selling to the private investors will give them non-controlling shares, but they get to have decision being made in the FIFA Forward Enterprise that is yet to be launched. Now, talking about this particular proposal and the deadline that he has given member states to back him up, Now, talking about this, UEFA, that is the Union of European Football Associations, has issued a statement saying this crosses a line that football governing institutions should never cross. Now, UEFA takes this extremely seriously, and so should every national football association. So every stakeholder, league, clubs, players, supporters, government, and everyone who cares about the future of the game should take this seriously as well. Now, of course, UEFA also says the soul and governance of football are not assets to trade, especially with zero transparency as to who gains financially to this proposal. Now, none of us are the owners of football, and it is not FIFA's to sell. Now, of course, UEFA has made it clear that this is not FIFA's stakes and shares to sell, and this is a line that no football body should cross, especially when there is zero transparency as to who gains financially. Now, of course, you're talking about this former president of FIFA, talking about Sepp Blatter, has issued another statement saying that the union of Gianni Infantino, who is the current president of FIFA, and President Donald Trump of the US, has brought a damage to the world of football, have brought damage to the world of football, and it is not as it should be. Now, still talking about the same proposal, what is now causing backlash against the FIFA. Now, of course, CONCACAF, talking about the Confederation of North, Central America, and Caribbean Association Football, have officially made it clear that they are not in support and do not support a deadline given without any discussions as to whatever the proposal would have been before it was actually announced. Now, of course, talking about what is going on, a lot of football fans have written their criticism and also their opinions, making it clear that FIFA is not to be sold to private investors, and also calling out Gianni Infantino for not discussing with any of the football association bodies before making his announcement and the deadline of September 7th. Now, whatever happens between now to September 19th, I beg your pardon, we will be checking and we're telling you right here on DDM Sports what is going on around the world. Now, last but not least, we're going to talk about what is happening in the transfer window. It is Chelsea who are on the news right now. Chelsea have already made a deal with Brighton for an undisclosed fee for none other than Danny Welbeck. Now, the 35-year-old will be undergoing his medical in the next 24 hours to be joining Chelsea for an undisclosed fee that has not been made public. Now, of course, Welbeck agreed terms with Chelsea until 2028, and his medicals will be taking place in the next 24 hours. Now, Brighton have approved the decision to let him go after a formal request from Danny Welbeck himself was submitted, and of course, he will be leaving Brighton after if he passes his medicals in the next 24 hours and will be the next Chelsea player under Xabi Alonso. Now, still talking about Chelsea, who are still on the news. Chelsea have also made the deal and leading the race to sign Jordan Henderson as the new midfielder for, of course, Xabi Alonso as the new coach of Chelsea, talking about the new season that will be starting in August. Now, Henderson will leave will win Brentford on a free transfer, and Chelsea are ahead in the race to sign the former Liverpool midfielder. Now, talking about Jordan Henderson, who is 36 years old, he has already made a deal with Chelsea, verbally agreed to join the club, and he has agreed on a 2-year deal to join Chelsea and will sign until June 2028 this week. Now, of course, Henderson leaves Brentford as a free agent, and Chelsea will now welcome him in the next 24 hours. They're hoping to complete his medicals and become the next Chelsea player. Now we get to see Danny Welbeck and Jordan Henderson join Chelsea and Xabi Alonso. And of course, Henderson, who was also a former Liverpool player, joining Xabi Alonso, who also had his ties to Liverpool. And then we get to see what happens in the English Premier League this new season. Liverpool are set to open talks with PSG to sign none other than Bradley Barcola from the PSG. Yes, that is Paris Saint-Germain right there in France. Now, of course, Liverpool have made it clear that Bradley Barcola is one of their priorities and interests this transfer window, and of course, hoping to welcome the young player into Liverpool. Now, Bradley Barcola still has 2 years on his contract with PSG, but has made it clear that he will not likely be signing a new contract right there for the French outfit. And of course, he is willing to leave PSG and join a new club right there for Bradley Barcola and Liverpool. Now, so far, it has not been clear if he will be joining Liverpool or he will remain in PSG to see out the next 2 years of his contract. Now, so talking about the transfer window, before we leave, we can also tell you that Real Madrid have made it clear that they will not be selling Vinícius Júnior to Arsenal or any other club for that matter, as they hope to retain the player for the rest of the window and the new season coming up. Now, Vinícius Júnior still remains one of the key players under Jose Mourinho, who is now the new coach of Real Madrid for next season. And of course, they are hoping that he will remain for the club and play the rest of his contract for Real Madrid. Now, of course, Vinícius Júnior, who has not made it clear that he's willing to leave Madrid, is still open to play for, of course, Santiago Bernabeu in the Madrid shirt and remains one of their top players for the next season. Now, last but not least, we can also tell you that Savinho has made his intentions clear on leaving Man City and is willing to join Tottenham Hotspur this season. And so, as we can see, Man City have also made it clear that they are willing to let him go if that is his request to leave Manchester City. Now, last but not least, John Stones is willing to sign a 2-year deal to join Inter Milan right there in Italy as he leaves as a free agent from England, going all the way to Italy. Talking about John Stones, who has now left England as a free agent and the Man City as a free agent, and he will be joining Inter Milan on a 2-year deal for the next 2 years until June 2028. And with this, we come to the end of DDM Sports Show today. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us again for more sports news updates from around the world. Bye for now. See you some other time.